here she comes, the highway woman. She comes with music for your soul, and then moves along. She moves along.
This is Bridget London, and you're listening to the Highwaywoman radio show. And right now, I have with me, I'm real happy about this, folks, because this is one of my favorite Texas Hill Country singer-songwriter musicians, Mr. Bill Lewis. And he's going to be talking about his music, life in the Hill Country, projects he's got going on, and we'll tell you all about it. All right. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm fine, Bridget. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Good.
You're kind of my neighbor, right? We're about.
Yeah, sort of.
Where do you live out near me out here? Or I'm not even
Actually,
sure.
no, I live in San Antonio, but
You
I
do,
used
really?
to live right across the road.
And we're talking about the Hill Country here near Lukenbach, Texas, where I met Mr. Bill Lewis.
That's where I spend most of my time, even though
Me too these days.
Yeah.
Tell me about, first of all, let's get a little background, and we'll come back to Lukenbach and the Hill Country and stuff, but where are you from originally, Bill?
I'm from Decatur, Texas.
Decatur,
up north of
Texas.
Fort Worth,
Okay.
about 30 miles. Grew up there.
Yeah.
Moved to Lubbock for a while. Tried to make a career out of going to school out there.
Yeah.
Went back and raised a bunch of kids and ended up down here somehow. I don't know.
When did you come down to the Hill Country area?
When I came down and moved down here, it's been, I guess, about 7-8 years ago. I'm
Cool.
not really sure. But yeah, 7 or 8 years ago, I've been down here. I've been coming down here, for years.
Right.
Just visiting, but I'd stay a little longer every time I came down here. And so this last time, it's been about 7 years. I don't know that I'm going back.
Yeah, I don't think you're going back. I don't know what we do without you around here. You play around here a lot. You have a regular deal at Lukenbach every Sunday and hosting the Picker Circle there. Sundays are very special in Lukenbach. Well, every day is special, but Sundays are maybe just a little bit extra special. You've got a lot of shows that you do around here regularly, but let's play a song and then we'll come back and find out about how you got into music. What's the song we're starting out with?
I think it's called Started at the Bottom.
Started at the Bottom.
Let me read it off the CD. Yeah, it's called Started at the Bottom.
The real Bill Lewis, folks. This is the real Bill Lewis here on the Highwaywoman radio show. We'll be right back.
I started at the bottom, but I'm working my way down. Cindy helped to start with.
And that was Started at the Bottom, but I'm working my way down.
Right.
Love that. Bill Lewis, folks. When did you start writing songs, Bill?
Oh, I started writing songs probably back in the 70s sometime. When I was in Lubbock, was when I wrote my first song, which was really terrible. And I'd write some. I never liked any of them. Some people liked them.
Yeah.
But then I really started writing when Michael Hilton and I, who another guy from Decatur, that was a good friend of mine. He was about 10 years older than I was. He took off. He was a star at Harvard and became a writer, and then he moved back to Decatur. Just went to work doing construction, and so we decided we wanted to write songs, and we started writing songs, and I learned a lot from him about writing. Kind of taught each other how to write songs.
Now, you play both piano and guitar. What did you start on first?
Piano. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6.
Wow.
And classically, I took classical piano for 8 years. They finally let me quit. I hated it.
Isn't it funny how the things we hate when we're young, when we're older, it's like all of a sudden we kind of revert back to it a little bit?
Yeah, I regret it, now, but it was the happiest day of my life, the day my parents finally said, okay, you can quit.
I hear you.
But I didn't want to play that stuff. I wanted to play Beatles.
Right,
No.
right. I started on classical guitar, and
Oh, really?
I just wanted to play, what I called real guitar.
Yeah. Right.
And now I wish that I would have stuck with it,
Yeah.
So, but I love that. And, you've got such a variety in your piano playing, everything from rock, classical, blues, ragtime. You can kind of combine it all in there, You got a great sound.
Well, thanks. I don't really know what it is.
It's
nothing,
the real Bill Lewis.
It's nothing. It's really most of it's unconscious stuff.
Right. Everything, I think that's what happens is all the stuff that influences us kind of seeps into our being, and then that's how we form our, quote, original sound is kind of all the combination of things we love or have felt and seen,
Listening to rock and roll and then being in church every Sunday,
A lot of gospel.
A lot of gospel.
Speaking of gospel, now you're part of the Melissa Weatherly and the Any Given Sunday Band on Sundays.
Right.
And for those Texas listeners now, we do run on San Antonio Station and in Kerrville. So for those who maybe don't know, at Hondo's in Fredericksburg. Now tell us a little bit about how this started and what's it like? What's a Gospel Sunday like?
It started, I don't really know how it started. It started about 3 years ago, and Melissa wanted to do a gospel thing, and so she got us all together, and we showed up one Sunday and started playing gospel, and we'd add a few songs every week.
Right.
And it's a rocking gospel show, It's we do everything from Amazing Grace, from the old standards to Presence of the Lord, Eric Clapton's stuff, and it's a great band, Donnie Price.
Yeah.
And Gary Dean, Paul Tennyson, Brian Maldonado, Melissa, and I.
Right.
And it's gotten really tight over the last 3 years. So
it's wonderful.
Yeah, everybody should come check it out.
What time is that on?
We usually start at 12:30 and go till 3:30.
3:30, and then when you're done with that,
yeah,
because you haven't had enough music,
right?
You head on over to Lukenbach to host the Pickers
My
Circle.
favorite evening of the week.
That's right.
I say that all the time.
That's right. It's a special for people who haven't been there. It's so hard to explain, but it gets in your blood, and it's just a wonderful thing. It's so different, and no egos. Everybody just is there to play music and have fun and love of music, connecting with each other, connecting with all the different people who come from God only knows where. Yeah. Sometimes from other countries.
You never know who's going to show up.
Yeah.
Sit down and play some songs.
Now, how did you end up coming around to Lukenbach? Did you meet Doug Davis first, or was you and Doug? Now, Doug Davis, Cowboy Doug Davis, who is a very big part of Lukenbach, Texas, he passed on last year. But in fact, we were doing a lot of things this week to honor him. But you and he have done a lot of things together and played a lot of music together.
We did over the last 3 or 4, 5 years. I think I met Doug over at Bankersmith at Maggie Montgomery's one night. The first time I think I remember meeting him. Started coming out to Lukenbach. I was living over in Canyon Lake, actually, and then started coming over here. Doug and I just, kind of on the same wavelength.
Right.
Music-wise, I mean, he knew all the old cowboy stuff, but he was actually an old hippie at heart. And, would sit there and he knew all the obscure old rock, psychedelic stuff. And we just hit it off, and then he started calling it the Elderly Brothers. I went along with it. But that was, I love playing with Doug. We had a great time together, and he was my best buddy,
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that you're honoring him the way you do. And I think it's important we honor artists and musicians that have given to us in some way, whether they're from George Jones, where the world knows who they are, to Cowboy Doug Davis, who is known here. No matter how big of a name that people recognize, it doesn't matter what the impact is still important and just as great. And I think it's wonderful that you're honoring him in that way, and will continue to do so in Lukenbach. And if you come to Lukenbach, you can see a painting of Cowboy Doug, and you can hear Cowboy Doug's stories, and it's all part of the wonderful magic that is Lukenbach, Texas, and the Texas Hill Country as a whole. I think it's just great, Bill, and I think we should play a couple of your songs, and then I want to come back and talk a little bit more about some other projects I've heard that you're involved in that you have not told me about, but a little birdie did. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah, let's play.
No.
I'd Like to Be Country, and then follow it up with Big Nick. Now, tell me a little bit about these songs.
I'd Like to Be Country was written. I was my good friend Mike Hilton that I wrote with for years. Sent a little demo off to Nashville, and it actually got on Jimmy Bowen's desk, and Jimmy Bowen liked it. Had 3 songs on it, and so he handed it to an A&R person. They sent us a letter wanting to hear. He said we have this whole concept album. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to hear the whole thing, and we sent it. It's a funny story actually, because the first song on the album is a little piece. It's called "Feminist Phony Gossip Dogma Feline Hairstyle Hell."
Oh my God, you're gonna have to write that down for me. I'm definitely gonna have to.
And so, and it turned out that the A&R person was a woman that he gave it to, and she didn't like the song, so they PC'd us out,
Right.
for that. And so I looked outside one morning, and it was pretty early. I got up, I got my coffee, and looked out the window. And Hilton was sitting on my porch. Mike was sitting on the porch, sitting there, and he had the letter, And
Right.
so we laughed about it. But we ended up writing this song that morning. I'd Like to Be Country for the for the next album we were going to send them.
All right, here's the real Bill Lewis, folks, with "I'd Like to Be Country."
When I open my mouth, but I ain't country. Where does that leave me? I say howdy when I see you on the street. I like to dance to a country beat. When you look at country, I'm what you see. But something is a-missing inside of me. I wore a big hat, but it didn't do the trick. My mind's too soft and my skull's too thick. I stood up straight and I've creased my pants. It don't work, I don't stand a chance. I'll never be country. So where does that leave me? Big Nick had influence all over town. They said he was connected all the way down. A friend introduced me. Nick was not so bad at all. Nick made me feel important, left his card and said he'd call. I began to see him often. Where I went there, Nick would be. I copied all his habits. I thought he was a friend to me.
Great cuts here from our guest here on the Highwaywoman radio show, Bill Lewis, who is a staple here in the Texas Hill Country, and you can see him when you come through this area. Now, do you play outside of the area much, Bill? You've got so many regular gigs here that you're committed to.
Not much. I used to. We had a band that played on the road for 6 years back in the 80s, but we don't do that. I don't do that anymore, but no, every once in a while I'll go up to Decatur. I actually just went up there the first time I'd played there in probably 15 years. A couple of months ago, Jake Martin and I went up there and did a show, and we're going back in August, I think.
Cool.
Start doing some stuff in Fort Worth, and occasionally I'll go, this is one of the highlights of my year when we get to do this. I go up and do a show at the Blue Door we've done one with Joel Melton, who actually set up, was the first one to invite me up there, and Greg Johnson, who owns the Blue Door.
And that's in Oklahoma?
Yeah, in Oklahoma City. One of the great listening venues in the country.
Such a great room and great place to hear folks. So those of you who might be listening from that area, keep a watch for when Bill Lewis comes up your way for that. Now tell me a little bit about this. Did you write a play or write music for a play? Or tell me about this.
Yeah, well, the Big Nick actually came. Hilton and I started writing songs, and then we decided we were going to write a song about all the addictions. And it turned into an opera, a modern-day opera, and all the songs were an addiction. Big Nick is about cigarettes.
Right.
That's from that. And then we were approached by the Wise County Historical Society in Decatur to write some kind of little pageant thing for the 150th anniversary or something. And so we started writing it the only way we knew how to write it. And it didn't fit into what they wanted, And I told Mike, I said, this could be a Broadway show. And so we talked to John Weidman, who had been a classmate and a real close friend of Mike's at Harvard. And John Weidman wrote the book for Assassins. He writes with Stephen Sondheim. And his dad wrote Fiorello, won a Pulitzer Prize. He grew up in the theater in New York. So we pitched it to John. He said that it could be a show, and it's called Code of the West. We spent 3 years writing it.
Wow.
It's full-blown Broadway thing. We took it to New York. They talked about doing it. The Denver Repertory Theater talked about doing it. Mike got sick, died, cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Another cancer guy. So I put it in the trunk of the car for about 5 years and got it back out and starting to kind of shop it around. But John Weidman himself said it would play. And so hopefully maybe we get it done around here and, shop it around, see what happens.
And see what happens with it. That's
It's
amazing.
a fantastic. It's called Code of the West, all about cowboys and the creation and the downfall and the redemption of the cowboys. It's all
very cool
jokes and funny and shootouts and, the love triangle.
Wow, that's really cool, Bill. I love that. And we'll definitely keep our ear to the ground for more information on that. If you get things rolling with that and get it produced, that would be really cool. And so you play piano and guitar, both. Very cool. By the way, folks, there is not a song that Bill doesn't know. I thought I had him one night here in Lukenbach. I was pretty excited because everybody always says you can't stump Bill Lewis, and I thought I had him. And dang it, he pulled it out, too.
I was starting to sweat.
Not only did he know it, but he knew the whole freaking song, of course.
They don't come back as quick as they used to.
I can't even remember my own songs these days. It's the truth. But, I'm forgetting the lyrics to my own music here. It's like,
yeah. And when I saw it, I looked at the back of the CD and saw 2-Bit Telephone. I haven't thought of that song. No telling how long.
What's the name of my song again?
Yeah.
So, well, this is so great. I'm just thrilled to have you on, and I can't wait to have you back on with your music. Now, we want to go over some stuff. We want to tell folks out there now. They can go to reverbnation.com. What is the exact?
The Real Bill Lewis.
The Real Bill Lewis. And that's, of course, Lewis.
I try to keep it updated best I can.
Right. Also, you can go to the LukenbachTexas.com. You can see Bill every Sunday at 5 p.m. and join him. You can sit and pick and sing with Bill in the Picker Circle.
Indeed, come on.
That's right. And every Sunday also at Hondo's in Fredericksburg, Texas. And you play around a lot of other places around the Hill Country, too.
Yeah, I play at Silver Creek in Fredericksburg every first and third Friday.
Okay, Silver Creek, first and third Friday in Fredericksburg, Texas.
And then the rest of them, you just have to...
That's right.
I don't know when.
You don't know.
They tell me.
They tell you. All right. And you can go to reverbnation.com/TheRealBillLewis. He's on Facebook. So, all right, folks, be sure to check out The Real Bill Lewis, reverbnation.com. You can listen to cuts. And those of you in the Texas area, there's lots of you tuning in. You make sure you see him. I'm sure you have. But this is a reminder, come out and see Bill again. And keep an eye out for the new album. And we hope to hear more about the play. A beautiful song by Bill Lewis. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? It's called Beautiful Valley.
This is another song that Mike and I wrote one night. I found this book in my dad's library. It was called Adam. And it's just a short prose piece, I don't know, maybe 150 pages, beautiful fictional account of the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
And with Adam and Eve. And I read it, it's a one-night read, and I gave it to Mike and said, man, this is good, and he read it. And so we ended up, a couple of nights later, we wrote this song. We wrote two songs based kind of on, our reading of the book, Beautiful Valley, and a song called Little Eva's Curse. This is one that came pretty quick. One of those songs that just kind of came pretty quick. Yeah. You don't get many of those.
But when you do, it's magic.
Yeah.
As you'll hear, folks, this is Bill Lewis. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love you.
I love you, too. The Real Bill Lewis with Beautiful Valley, folks.
Of the valley, and I don't know why. In an alley where the winos cry, my eyes were opened by a flashlight's glare. Was the valley ever really there? just another day's DTs. As far as I could see, by the gutter where the trickle of dreams is almost dry. What does it mean to me, this beautiful valley I see? Can I ever go back again? Will the cherubims let me in? Have I lost?
Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Bridget London, and this has been the Highwaywoman Radio Show.
Now there she goes, the highway woman, and she's brought music